Do you agree?
After nuclear attack destroyed his home, a 12-year-old lonely orphan named Koshi Nagumo is almost died on streets, until God sent him a goddess, who rescues him and brings him to the girls' dorm, and now he is surrounded by 5 weird stepsisters, and all 5 of them are helping him to find a girlfriend.
What the heck is wrong with me?
Koshi Nagumo is useless 12-year-old kid. He comes back from school one day and his house is up in flames. But the most shocking thing is that his own dad is the one who caused the fire. Instead of staying and dealing with it, his dad just disappears with his new girlfriend and leaves Koshi on his own. So now Koshi has nowhere to go. He walks around the city, not sure what to do next. He doesn't have a place to sleep. He doesn't have food, nothing. After wandering around for a while, he gets so weak from hunger that he collapses right on the street. But this is not end, guys, because God sent him a cute college girl with green hair named Minoru finds him. She says she's a researcher and notices right away that he's in bad shape, so she brings him to her dormitory. She cooks him some food, and Koshi eats it immediately, questioning his own luck. After he's done eating and looks a bit better, Minoru tells him he can use the bathroom to wash up. Koshi dashed over to the bathroom, all happy, but the moment he pushed the door open, his soul left his body. Inside were 3 girls, Serene, Kiria, and Frey, the other students who stay in Minoru's dormitory. Koshi wasn't ready for that at all, so his face went red, and he quickly launches his rocket in reverse gear. Back off. While he was hurrying away, he ran right into Athena, the pink-haired girl from the goddess dormitory, and the 2 of them fell over. Because of how they landed, Koshi's face ended up in a place where I can't explain, you guys, and Athena is passed out with a nosebleed. The girls watching were shocked that this kid managed to cause that much chaos the very first time he showed up. That accident was how Koshi got introduced to everyone living in the goddess dorm at the girls' university. Minoru is a 4th year and is acting as the stand-in dorm manager. Kiria is a 2nd year who's really serious and has been training in martial arts for ages. Frey is a 3rd year who's super into cosplay and designing outfits. Athena is a 1st year, but she can't really handle guys because she is fresher. Do you know mean of fresher, guys? Tell me in the comments.
What do you mean by that?
She's fine with girls. But when a boy gets close, she starts bleeding from the nose because she is a V card holder, just like some of you guys. Serene is the quiet, odd one, and she says she's been on Earth so long she doesn't even remember when she arrived. After talking with them for a bit, Koshi told the girls what really happened to him. Athena was still in her room resting from the nosebleed, so she wasn't there. Koshi explained it straight. He had no money, no family to stay with, and nowhere to live. He said he wanted to keep going to school, but he couldn't because he didn't have the money for it. When Minoru heard that, she came up with a plan. She said, the goddess dormitory didn't have a proper dorm supervisor, so why not let Koshi be the supervisor and live there? Koshi liked the idea right away and said he would do it. The other girls also agreed, since having someone to help around the dorm would make things easier. But there was one problem. Athena. They went to tell her about Koshi staying, thinking she would understand after hearing his story, but she said no right away. Athena said she didn't want a boy living there at all. She grew up only around girls schools, girls at home, no guys, so she didn't want that to change now. I think, guys, her father is also a girl. She said if Koshi was going to stay, then she would leave. Koshi didn't really understand why she was so serious about it, and the others looked worried. Athena even started packing her things and walked out of the dorm. Then, Minoru explained it to Koshi. She told him Athena had almost no experience being around boys. The first time she saw a boy up close was by accident. She walked in on her roommate and her boyfriend doing something, which I can't explain here. That shocked her so much, she fainted and got a nosebleed. After that, she became really nervous around guys. Minoru actually thought that hiring a boy as the supervisor might slowly help Athena get used to men. But it didn't work. It made Athena even more scared. Even though Koshi didn't fully get why Athena was that afraid, he didn't want to take her place away. He knew how it felt to not have a home and to be hungry. So he ran after Athena outside, talked to her, and told her to go back to the goddess dormitory because that was her home first. He said he would figure something out on his own. Athena went back to the dorm, but Koshi didn't. He turned down the job that could have given him food, a bed, and school again just so Athena wouldn't have to leave. That night, he was back outside, sleeping in a park, cold and alone, still with no place to stay. On her way back to the goddess dormitory, Athena remembered what Minoru said about Koshi's house burning down. That really got to her, because Koshi gave up a chance to have food, school, and a bed just so she wouldn't lose her place. While Koshi was sleeping in the park, Athena went to find him. She picked him up on her back, even though he wasn't that light, and carried him all the way back to the dorm. When he woke up, he could feel her body warmth and smell her nice scent. He moved his hand without thinking and accidentally touched her melons. So Athena's nose started bleeding again and she fainted right away. This time, Koshi had to carry her back inside. After that, Athena finally said it was okay for Koshi to work at the dorm. She wanted to try to be braver and help him too, not just run away. The next day, Koshi was happy to start working at the goddess dormitory. But when he looked around, the place was super messy. Stuff was all over the rooms. The only clean room was Athena's. Koshi decided to clean Minoru's room first. He knocked, and when she opened the door, she was wearing only a big shirt that showed too much. Which guys I can't show you here. Koshi got embarrassed and his face went red. He asked why she was dressed like that, and Minoru said it was easier to work in. Koshi asked what kind of work, and she tells him that she can do this only with her boyfriend. Koshi said he would wait outside until she changed and walked away. As he was walking past Frey's room, she suddenly pulled him inside. Frey loves cosplay, just like you guys who love cosplay girls, so she wanted to dress Koshi up. She made him wear a maid outfit and said it was part of the job. While he was still wearing it, Frey asked him to help measure her body so she could make clothes. Koshi didn't really want to, but he thought he should help, so he tried. He was very nervous, and his face was red again. While he was doing it, he slipped, and Frey fell on top of him. Before anything can happen, Minoru ran into the room and told them to get out of the dorm fast. One of her experiments went wrong, and some strange gas was spreading inside. All three of them ran outside. Koshi told them they should be more careful and not do risky things like that. Then he said sorry because they were older than him. But Minoru actually liked that he cared. Koshi was still outside wearing the maid outfit, so people were looking at him, but he didn't mind. It was cold and Minoru and Frey weren't dressed for cold weather, so he found a blanket for them. He felt like, since he was the only boy, he should take care of everyone. While they were waiting, Minoru and Frey hugged him to thank him. At that moment, Athena saw him getting hugged by two girls, and she got a nosebleed again and fainted right away. Tell me, in the comments, guys, what she should do when her boyfriend comes up.
We do not care.
Koshi was knocked out, sleeping peacefully, when he suddenly woke up because something really loud was going on right above his room. It sounded like someone was stomping around on the ceiling. I think guys, maybe there is a clapping session going on. Then the ceiling literally broke, and the person who fell through was Kiria. She got stuck halfway and couldn't climb back up, so the only thing she could do was drop right into Koshi's room. Since Koshi's actually nice, he rushed over to help so she wouldn't slam into the floor. But it got awkward real fast, because they bumped in midair and Kiria ended up landing right on top of him. Koshi's just lying there confused like, why does stuff like this keep happening here? Because this isn't even the first weird situation he's had in the dorm. While he's trying to figure it out, he notices a book near Kiria. She tries to hide it and looks all shy. That book's important to her. It was the first one she bought when she started university. Back then, she didn't even know there were sweet, bright romance stories like that. She grew up in her family's dojo, always training and fighting, so she never really got that soft, girly side. Also, she never have a boyfriend. Then she read that romance book and it hit her, so she totally got into it. But here's the funny part, when the story gets too emotional, she bottles it up so much that she ends up punching the wall to let it out. That's when Koshi realizes why the ceiling broke. Kiria's actually shy, secretly loves romance. And when her feelings explode, her fists also explode, because guys, she wants something else to explode. Kiria apologizes for crashing through and asks if she can sleep in Koshi's room tonight, because she's scared her own ceiling might fall again. Koshi's like, you're okay staying in a boy's room. But then he remembers she has little brothers back home, so she's used to being around guys. So he says it's fine. They turn the lights off, and instead of sleeping, Kiria starts talking. She says that when she looks at Koshi, he reminds her of her younger brothers she used to spar with at the dojo. Koshi just wants to sleep, but Kiria starts missing those training fights so much that she suddenly attacks him like it's practice time. She goes full dojo mode in the dark. It gets so intense that Koshi thinks he might actually be in trouble. But he doesn't trip too hard, because he already knows every girl in this dorm is kind of special. They're all cute, but they all have their own chaos. So he tells her, even if I remind you of your brothers, I'm just a regular boy, okay? Then he realizes that sounded embarrassing, panics, and leaves his own room so she can sleep there. He goes to sleep in Kiria's room instead. Kiria gets a little shy, because that was the first time someone actually called her cute. Meanwhile, Koshi's not even thinking romantic, he's just hoping she doesn't wreck his room, the way she destroyed her ceiling. Koshi was sleeping when Serene quietly came into his room. She actually wanted to talk to Kiria about some work stuff, but instead, she found Koshi and also saw the big hole in the floor. She told him, if you become my helper, I'll fix this with my moon tech. Koshi was still sleepy, so he just said yes without thinking much, because he wanted his room fixed and Kiria to go back to her own room. Serene then did her weird moonlight thing on him and stood by the window like a moon rabbit. The next morning, Koshi woke up and the floor was already fixed. He didn't really understand what happened, but he didn't mind. He went to make breakfast since he's the dorm supervisor. All the girls loved the food because it was super tasty. Minoru gave him some medicine she made. Frey wanted him to wear the outfit she designed, and Kiria wanted to spar with him after eating. Atena watched all this and was confused about how Koshi became friendly with everyone so fast. Even with Serene, she thought it was a little suspicious. So later, when Koshi had to go buy groceries, Atena said she would go with him to check if he was really trustworthy. But since Atena is scared of boys, they had to walk through the small back roads instead of the main street. After a few hard moments on the way, they finally bought everything they needed for dinner. Koshi was really impressed with how brave Atena was. She's scared of boys, but she still came with him and faced it instead of running away. That made Koshi happy, because he could tell she was kind and trying her best. He was also thankful to her, since from the day he came to the dorm, she was the one who welcomed him, so he could stay there. Atena, on her side, was thinking that maybe Koshi had already forgiven her for leaving him alone that time, and that's why he was talking to her so normally. She started to understand that this must be how Koshi got all the other girls to trust him too. He's just nice to everyone. While they were walking back, they bumped into two random guys. Atena almost had a nosebleed from panic because she's so scared of men. But Koshi quickly said, "She's my little sister," and pulled her away. Then they went to rest in a small cafe. Atena was quiet, but Koshi said sorry for carrying her like that earlier. She didn't get mad at all. Instead, she said, "Call me stepsister." "What?" "Sorry, guys, not that stepsister." She said, "Call me sis again." She kept asking, so Koshi said, "Okay, sis." And she got super happy. She really liked being called big sister and wanted to hear it in different ways. Atena started to feel relaxed, thinking of Koshi like her younger brother. She even stood up and said she wanted to protect him from now on. But then her dress slipped by accident. "Just like my stepsister who is stuck inside a washing machine." Atena panicked, tried to fix it, slipped again, and fell right onto Koshi's face. She got so embarrassed she had a nosebleed and fainted. After some time, they went back to the dorm. Koshi apologized for all the trouble and thanked Atena for coming shopping with him. Atena said he didn't need to thank her. At first, she didn't trust him, but now she believes he really earned the girls' trust by being gentle with everyone. So, she decided she also wants to be his big sister. Back at the house, Atena is on dinner table with the others and talking about what happened earlier when Minoru comes in and immediately starts trying to hit on Koshi. Atena is just mentally like, "Nope, not this time," and decides from that moment she's going to keep an eye on him and treat him like her step-brother. Sorry guys, I mean little brother. When the rest of the girls overhear Koshi calling Atena his stepsister, "Sorry again guys."
Lord have mercy.
He calls her big sis. They all get jealous and start wanting him to address them the same way too. About 2 weeks roll by after Koshi moves into the dorm. The whole place feels way more lively now. He's really gotten used to his role there, handling chores and helping out like a total pro. Minoru even trusts him enough to let him wash her clothes. But this is different types of clothes, which every boy wants. That makes him super embarrassed at first and his face goes red, but he still does it properly. After running around doing all this house stuff every day, he suddenly realizes he hasn't gone back to school even once since the first orientation day. He starts thinking about his old classmates and actually missing them. One morning, after he finishes cooking breakfast, he calls everyone downstairs to eat. But before Atena comes down, she says she'll only come if Koshi calls her sis again. He does it, and that alone makes her really happy. When she reaches out like she's about to pat him on the head to thank him. But then it hits her again that she's scared of boys, who look just like you guys. She tries her best to walk up to him without freaking out, inching closer little by little, fighting her nerves the whole time. Koshi can't help noticing that her plot armor is basically right in front of his face while she's trying to get near him, which makes him even more flustered. While he's stuck in that awkward moment, Frey sneaks up behind him and spots exactly where he was accidentally looking. She starts messing with him, joking that he must really be into Atena's outfit, which looks kind of like something you'd wear to sleep. Then she goes even further and jokes about making a see-through version of it just for him. Atena quickly jumps in, doing her best to shield Koshi from Frey's teasing and protect him, even though she was the one who was so desperate for him to call her sis in the first place. Minoru also notices what's going on and watches them with interest. Then Kiria steps forward and says she wants to be his big sister too, since she already has a younger brother and knows how to act like an older sibling. That sets off an argument between the girls over who gets to be Koshi's sis, and they end up deciding to settle it with a proper challenge to see who really deserves the title. After breakfast wraps up, Best Sister contest kicks off. First to step up is Frey, who's excited to show off her sisterly love. She tries dressing Koshi in a bright pink outfit. He's totally confused, like, "Why am I wearing this?" But to Frey, it's all about cuteness. She even says that little brothers are basically like toys for their older sisters to dress up. Koshi, of course, is not cool with that, and just like that, Frey is disqualified. Then it's Minoru's turn. She wants to prove she's the best sister by having Koshi try one of her homemade concoctions. Usually, she tests her experiments on him, but this time, Koshi refuses. She gets kicked out of the contest just as fast. Now Serene steps in. Since she's usually quiet and low energy, everyone's curious about her approach. Instead of doing something bold, she simply lies down next to Koshi and gently rests her head on his lap, more like a sleepy pet than a sister. Kiria goes next, and she's confident. With a little brother of her own, she knows how to handle this. She gets playful, teasing Koshi and roughhousing with him. It's all fun until she accidentally knocks him out cold. Seeing Koshi on the ground, Atena rushes over, clearly concerned. She checks on him, wakes him up gently, and treats him more like a mommy than a sister. Koshi wakes up and accidentally grabs her plot armor, which leaves her flustered and gives her a nosebleed. After the chaos, Koshi takes a calming bath. The girls apologize for going overboard. Even though it was a wild ride, Koshi begins to understand what it means to have older sisters, and he's actually okay with it. The girls are happy that he finally sees them as his big sisters. Later, Minoru lets him know he can return to school after the long weekend. Minoru and Frey already sorted out the paperwork. The next day, Koshi is excited he even has his own shoe locker now. But suddenly, he gets kicked in the face by Tsutia, his childhood friend. She's mad he didn't message her after his house burned down. She pretends she doesn't care, but deep down, she clearly does. After their talk, Tsutia walks away, clearly upset and unsure about her feelings. She honestly cares about Koshi, but doesn't know how to show it the right way. Every time he tries to be nice or friendly, she pushes him away without meaning to, and it leaves her feeling even more frustrated. Koshi, however, knows her well and doesn't take it personally. He plans to talk to her, explain what happened, how his house burned down, and how he ended up somewhere new. But he's not planning to tell her the full story, especially about the strange girls he's living with. He worries she might take it the wrong way. As she's walking off, Koshi tries to stop her by grabbing her hand, but Tsutia gets angry and yells at him for touching her. That's when it hits him, he completely forgot about her condition. Tsutia's body reacts badly to heat. Whether it's hot weather, warm things, or even someone's touch, it makes her feel uncomfortable and sometimes even causes her to faint. That health issue is actually how the two became friends. Back in kindergarten, when all the other kids were running around outside, Tsutia always sat in the shade by herself. Koshi noticed her sitting alone and asked if she wanted to play. She told him no, worried about getting dizzy. Koshi didn't give up and gently held her hand, asking again, but his warm hand made her uncomfortable, and she pulled away. That's when she told him about her condition, and he understood right away. Wanting to help, he ran inside and grabbed an ice pack to cool down his hands. That way, she wouldn't feel weird if they held hands. At first, she thought his hands would heat up again and pushed him away. But then he touched her cheek with his cold hand, and it instantly calmed her down. That simple moment stuck with her. Now, while eating lunch alone on the rooftop, she thinks about all of it. She doesn't understand why she acts cold when she doesn't feel that way. While she sits in the sun, lost in thought, she starts feeling dizzy again. The shade had moved without her noticing. Koshi suddenly comes over to Tsutia and presses his cool hands against her face, making her jump. Only then does she notice the ice packs arranged along her back, and realizes he's been carefully keeping track of her condition the whole time. He even went as far as asking Minoru for advice, so he could always help her stay cool whenever her temperature rose. It's obvious that she's been on his mind constantly. After that, Koshi calmly explains everything that has happened. When he's finished, Tsutia says she wants to check out the goddess dormitory with her own eyes. However, the moment she tries to stand, her head spins. She sways, loses her footing, and the two of them topple onto the bed together in a position. Koshi immediately tries to pull away, but Tsutia unexpectedly holds him back, wanting him to stay close. Before she can honestly tell him how she feels, her usual defensive side kicks in. Her mood flips, and she ends up shoving him off the bed instead, hiding her real emotions again. She didn't intend to push him that hard, and afterward, she silently beats herself up over how she reacted. Later that day, after school, Tsutia still insists on going with him to the dorm to inspect the place. Koshi says there's no need, and his reluctance makes her suspicious. If he truly has nothing to hide, she thinks, then why is he so nervous about her going there? When they finally arrive at the dorm, a loud bang rings out. Another of Minoru's experiments has gone wrong. Minoru and Frey burst out of the building, fleeing from a room filled with weird, dangerous fumes. Seeing them like that leaves Tsutia stunned and completely at a loss for words. Once the air has cleared and it's safe again, everyone goes back inside. Koshi introduces Tsutia to the residents of the goddess dormitory one after another. A little later, Atena shows up and Koshi introduces her as well, joking that she's the most ordinary person living there. The moment Frey lays eyes on Tsutia, she's instantly captivated by how adorable the girl looks and moves in, eager to give her a full makeover. Because Tsutia's body is extremely sensitive to warmth, Koshi quickly puts himself between them and hurriedly explains Sutia's condition to Frey, so she won't get too close. Being openly protected like that embarrasses Sutia, and she reacts on instinct. She kicks Koshi away, her face bright red as she turns aside in frustration. She regrets exploding like that almost immediately. The other girls notice how flustered she is and start teasing her about it. To them, it's obvious Sutia has a crush on Koshi, and they joke that Athena now has serious competition for his attention. Athena tries to clear things up, but nobody really listens to her protests. After thinking it over, Sutia decides she needs to look through the dorm herself to judge whether Koshi would actually be safe living there. The first room they check is Koshi's, and since it looks completely normal, Sutia relaxes a little. Athena, who has never been inside his room before, quietly takes everything in with curiosity. When Sutia notices Koshi and Athena speaking closely, a faint sting of jealousy hits her, though she keeps it to herself, which burn herself like you watching you acts with someone else. Next, they head toward Minoru's room, but thick clouds of experimental fumes fill the entire space like nuclear war is just here now, making it impossible to enter. The moment Sutia sees it, she remembers all the stories she heard about a mysterious poison girl, which only makes her more worried about the dorm. After that, they step into Frey's room, where an outfit meant for Sutia is already prepared. Frey passionately helps her put it on, and the scene becomes so awkward for Koshi that he instantly turns away. Frey gets overly excited, forcing Athena to step in and act like Koshi's protective big sister, giving her a KO punch. They then enter Athena's room. It's clean, gentle, and calming, which helps Sutia feel less tense. Koshi, seeing it for the first time, notices the warm atmosphere and soft scent. When he compliments Athena on how well she keeps her room, she blushes deeply, and Sutia becomes alert again. Later, they check Kiria's room, which is overflowing with romance books. Koshi and Athena are surprised that Sutia looks calm until Kiria suddenly reads an emotional line out loud and, in her usual dramatic fashion, punches the wall from excitement. The moment triggers all of Sutia's worries, and she becomes convinced that this dorm might be too chaotic for Koshi. Seeing her growing discomfort, Serene offers Sutia a piece of pastry, but Sutia remembers the pastry is spoiled, which only strengthens her fear that the dorm is unsafe. As the night gets late, everyone tries to fix the terrible impression they've given, so they ask Sutia to stay until morning so they can all share one roof. The problem is choosing a safe room, since most of them seem risky. In the end, Sutia decides to stay in Athena's room, because guys, this is the only safe room for her. When Sutia goes into Athena's room to get ready for bed, she keeps giving Athena sharp, suspicious looks. Even so, Athena sees this as her chance to fix things between them. She softly tells Sutia that she wants this night to go well and hopes they can get along. After that, Athena starts asking questions about Koshi, his past, what he was like growing up, and what kind of person he really is since Sutia has been with him for so long. Athena is sure that Koshi must be a gentle and trustworthy boy. But Sutia has only one thing she wants to know. What is everyone's relationship with Koshi? The question catches Athena completely off guard. She starts to answer, but before she can finish, a loud scream from downstairs cuts her off. Both girls rush down and find Koshi trying to cover himself while Kiria stands nearby. The others explain what happened. While Koshi was taking a bath, he suddenly felt lightheaded. He hurried to finish, and when he walked out, he accidentally ran straight into Kiria, who was on her way to wash up. That's how they ended up in a position which you are dream off.
Stay hard!
Earlier, Kiria had already taken a bath, but she practiced martial arts by her bed afterward and got sweaty again. Wanting to clean up, she headed back to the bathroom and crashed right into Koshi by accident. Sutia is shocked and immediately asks Kiria what exactly was going on, which makes Athena blush. Kiria looks around nervously and also turns red. It should have been a small mistake, nothing more, but Sutia can't understand why both girls are embarrassed when they're older than Koshi. It feels unfair to her, especially since no one gives her a clear answer. Upset and confused, Sutia runs back to her room. A few more days slipped by, and Kiria and Athena started behaving strangely. They looked dull, stayed quiet, and kept away from Koshi. They were so eager to avoid him that they even left home without their lunches. Frey, noticing how unusual this was, questioned Koshi about what had taken place between them. Koshi suspected it had something to do with the night Sutia spent at the dorm, but he didn't mention it. Frey then pointed out that the girls didn't have any money for food and wouldn't receive their allowance until the following day. Koshi wondered how they were supposed to get through school without eating, especially because their classes wouldn't end until late in the afternoon. Missing a meal wasn't possible. Frey recommended a simple answer: Koshi should take lunch to them. But since their school admitted only girls, Koshi would need to disguise himself as one to enter. Koshi agreed and headed to the school dressed like a girl. As soon as he stepped inside, the students noticed him. Many of them thought he looked adorable and assumed he must be someone's younger sister. Two older girls eventually realized he was actually a boy, but they didn't mind at all. They only wanted to talk and play around with him. They followed him everywhere, but Koshi eventually escaped and located Athena in her economics class. But when he turned another hallway, those same two upper-class girls bumped into him again. They were thrilled to be speaking with a boy, and their excitement pulled the attention of even more girls. A whole crowd formed around him, blocking his way. Fortunately, Athena stepped out of her classroom, spotted the trouble, and quickly dragged him away. Koshi hurriedly explained the whole lunch problem and added that he also brought food for Kiria. Athena guided him toward where Kiria was, but she walked without watching her steps. She crashed into Kiria, who was carrying a bucket of water, soaking both girls completely. Since their clothes were drenched, they had to change. Koshi waited outside while they dressed, but the two older girls from earlier followed him again. Seeing this, Athena allowed Koshi inside, saying he could pretend to be her little sister since he was already dressed like a girl. Even so, Koshi still turned his face away, embarrassed. Athena didn't have a dry outfit of her own, so Kiria lent her some of her clothes. However, even though the clothes were cute, they didn't fit Athena properly, especially around her chest. When both girls finished changing, Koshi looked back at them and nearly jumped. The shirt Kiria gave Athena was so tight that one of the buttons blasted off and hit Koshi right on the face. Seeing that happen, Athena got a nosebleed too and fainted on the spot. After everyone returned to the dorm, the girls gathered around Athena to check on her condition and make sure she felt better. Minoru and Frey were relieved to see that both Athena and Kiria looked much more relaxed than they had earlier, although they couldn't understand what caused the shift in mood. Minoru eventually decided they needed to talk about their strange behavior toward Koshi, who had clearly been stressed about them all day. Athena quickly dismissed the concern, and suddenly brought up a trip she had been wanting to plan for a long time. She suggested that Koshi invite Tsuteya to come along as well, if possible. As they continued talking about the outing, Serene suddenly began acting out of character. She rushed up the stairs without giving any explanation, making the girls uneasy, especially Athena, since the whole idea had been hers. But the others reassured her that the plan was fine and that the trip would go smoothly. Minoru then told Koshi that it was his job as the dorm assistant to go check on Serene. Koshi went to Serene's room, unsure what he would find since he had never been inside before. When he opened the door, the room was dim and packed with strange objects. Serene was nowhere in sight at first. As he stepped further in, a shelf fell over, and Serene tumbled onto him. Koshi asked why she kept so many things around and offered to help clean the space, but Serene told him nothing there was random. Every item was part of equipment that used moon-based technology to gather lunar energy. Koshi didn't fully understand what she meant. Even guys, I can't understand what she's talking about. But when she mentioned the moon, he remembered the night she had slipped into his room. He had assumed the whole thing was a dream, but now it was clear it had really happened. When he asked if she had gone into Kiria's room that same night, she didn't deny it, confirming everything. Serene knew he had come to speak about the trip. She said she wasn't against the idea, but she admitted that she had never traveled anywhere beyond the school and the dorm. Leaving that small area made her uneasy. She explained that the strong lunar energy around the dorm helped stabilize her, giving her a sense of peace that she relied on. Koshi didn't understand the details, but he wanted to help her so she could go along with everyone else. He returned downstairs and explained the situation to the group. Together, they tried to find something Serene could carry with her, something she considered part of herself, so she could feel safe no matter where they went. Koshi suggested creating something that mimicked the atmosphere of the moon. With that idea, they all worked together to build a portable comfortable zone that Serene could take on the trip. The next morning, on his way to school, Koshi spotted Tsuteya struggling under the harsh summer sun. The weather was already extremely hot, and her condition made it even harder for her to handle. She looked beautiful in her summer uniform, and Koshi admired her for a moment before noticing she was lightheaded. He quickly took out 2 cold packs and gently placed them on her face to cool her down. When they reached the school gates, Koshi invited Tsuteya to join the group on their trip. She agreed, but insisted that she would be going as a supervisor. Not for fun, she wanted to make sure nothing strange or inappropriate happened. Meanwhile, back at the dorm, Frey had finished making a special moon-themed outfit for Serene and excitedly brought it to her. It turned out to be a Sailor Moon-style costume, and the idea of Serene wearing it filled Frey with excitement. But to Serene, wearing cosplay in public felt embarrassing and improper, so she quietly refused. Frey was disappointed, but Serene held her ground. Then Minoru introduced another idea. She revealed a bottle of strong moonlight sake she had brewed, which was supposed to help Serene step outside without fear. One small sniff would immediately draw her in and make her willing to leave the dorm. However, Minoru accidentally exposed the sake to Frey, who instantly became drunk and uncontrollable. Minoru had unintentionally created a mess and now had to deal with the chaos she caused. Later that night, when Koshi came back to the dorm, he spotted Kiria and Serene slowly moving through a yin-yang tai chi routine. The exercise focused on harmony between 2 forces, and because the moon is part of the large universe, Kiria hoped it might help Serene steady her unusual abilities. But Serene's strength was tied directly to the moon itself, and trying to handle the universe's wider energy overwhelmed her. After a short while, her legs gave out and she sank to the floor. Right then, Frey appeared, proudly wearing the Sailor Moon-themed outfit she had originally designed for Serene. Minoru, not wanting to miss the fun, showed up in her own costume as well. A moment later, Athena came in holding a unique umbrella, its inner lining painted like a night sky full of stars with a bright moon. When Serene opened it and saw the design, her expression softened, and she agreed to go on the upcoming trip with everyone. After dinner, Serene headed back to her room. Before she could close the door, Koshi hurried over to return her jacket. He had stumbled upon it while doing laundry and noticed the seams were coming loose, so he repaired them by hand. Because Serene always wore that jacket, he figured it was important to her, maybe even comforting. Like the moon's presence, Serene admitted she had been stressed about the jacket falling apart, so she was relieved and grateful that he had fixed it. The next morning, the group began their journey. When they saw the ocean in the distance, they assumed a beach trip was ahead. Also, I am thinking, guys, where is the beach episode? But the car drove straight past the shoreline, leaving them confused. Soon the scenery shifted, and they were heading up a mountain road. That's when they realized Athena had accidentally booked a lodge at the mountaintop. She felt awful, especially because the place looked old, spooky, and unwelcoming. But since a deposit had already been paid, they had no choice but to stay. That night, they visited the hot spring. Minoru asked Athena why she planned a vacation she normally would never suggest. Athena admitted she wanted to make up for the night Tsuteya had stayed over, hoping everyone could bond again. After soaking for a while, Minoru and Frey decided to climb the wall to check on Koshi, who was bathing in the men's area alone. They thought he might be lonely and wanted to see if he was okay. When they suddenly peeked over, Koshi panicked, turning bright red. The girls seemed disappointed that he wasn't even trying to peek at them. To calm him down, they showed him they were covered with towels. They suggested that they all sleep in the same room, so Koshi wouldn't feel isolated. But then Minoru's towel slipped.
It's just as I expected.
And Athena quickly blocked Koshi's view so he wouldn't see anything he shouldn't. Before she could fully protect him, Frey dropped Athena's towel, ruining the attempt. With everything happening at once, Koshi had a nosebleed and fainted in the hot water. When he woke up, he found everyone's plot armor is on display around him. After a while, he noticed Athena quietly leaving the room. Curious, he got up to follow her. Minoru noticed him leaving and decided to follow as well. Since Athena had been gone for too long, both Koshi and Minoru started to worry. They searched the entire building but couldn't find her anywhere. The only area left was the abandoned, restricted part of the lodge, the creepy section no one was supposed to enter. They stepped inside together. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the atmosphere changed. The hallway felt wider, like Gojo is here and starts domain expansion. Koshi looked around nervously and tried to grab Minoru's hand for reassurance, only to realize she had vanished. Now, standing alone in the darkness, Koshi felt fear creeping up his spine as he realized he had no idea where anyone had gone. Not long after, Koshi began searching through the dark hallway. Minoru suddenly reappeared and grabbed his hand, admitting that she was frightened as well. Koshi tried to reassure her by saying he would watch over her, since he served as the dorm helper. But Minoru insisted that she should be the one looking out for him because she was the older one. She leaned toward him as she said this, which embarrassed him enough that he hurried away to clear his head. While heading down the corridor, Koshi ran into Athena, who stepped out of a room looking confused. She explained that she had been trying to locate the bathroom but had ended up completely lost in the unfamiliar building. As the two attempted to navigate back to the others, they spotted a ghost in the distance, which startled them. Athena grabbed Koshi's hand and pulled him away as quickly as possible, and they hid in another room to avoid whatever they had seen. Inside the dark space, Athena tried to stay calm and assure Koshi that everything would be fine, but her sudden confidence surprised him so much that he didn't know how to respond. Just then, the lights turned on. Minoru walked in and asked why Athena was acting so strangely, causing both Koshi and Athena to feel flustered. A moment later, Serene appeared with Minoru and confirmed that she had been the mysterious white figure they encountered earlier. The following morning, everyone packed up and prepared to head home. Koshi apologized to Serene for assuming she was a ghost the previous night. Frey, still feeling like the trip wasn't complete, suggested they stop by the beach before returning. Finally, guys, most awaited episode is gone. Come. The group agreed and drove toward the shore. Once they arrived, they ran into the water and began a variety of beach activities, enjoying the warm sun and the waves. Tsuteya wished to join in fully, but she felt uneasy compared to the others, who seemed more confident and energetic. She noticed Koshi sitting under a shaded spot, keeping watch over everyone from a distance. He explained he was observing them because that was his responsibility. Yet Tsuteya couldn't help but wonder if he favored the others for appearing more impressive. Feeling unsure of herself, she eventually decided to swim alone for a while. However, while she was in the water, she lost her balance and began struggling. Fortunately, Koshi, still paying attention from the shore, noticed immediately. Since he couldn't swim, he called for Kiria, who rushed in and helped Tsutia get safely back to shore. Afterward, Koshi approached to check on her, but she turned away, insisting that he didn't need to worry. Kiria then explained that Koshi had reacted the moment he sensed something was wrong, showing real concern for Tsutia. She added that she herself would have helped regardless, but Koshi still played an important part by noticing the danger first. Hearing this made Tsutia feel relieved, realizing that Koshi had been watching out for her as well. The others were surprised to discover that Koshi didn't know how to swim, but they praised him for acting quickly and doing what he could. Athena encouraged him by saying he should feel proud, reminding him that bravery comes in many forms, not just physical skill. Koshi stepped away to buy a drink, thinking about Athena's supportive words. A warm feeling spread through his heart, and though he didn't fully understand it, the thought lingered with him and made him feel strangely uneasy. Because the day was extremely warm, Kiria placed cold packs on Tsutia's face to help her cool off. These had been prepared earlier specifically for Tsutia, and Kiria thought it was thoughtful of Koshi to plan ahead for her condition. This made Kiria feel a small sting of envy, wondering what it would be like to receive that kind of attention from him, and remembering how close they all used to be when they were younger. Tsutia apologized to Kiria for how she had behaved on the night she stayed at the dorm and thanked her for helping save her during the trip. Frey then asked why Tsutia kept her hair long during the hot season when it might be uncomfortable. Tsutia whispered something to Kiria, who then explained to the others that Tsutia kept her long hair because Koshi's very first childhood crush, one of their preschool teachers, had the same hairstyle. Tsutia had kept it that way ever since, even though she never openly told Koshi. Frey and Minoru were charmed by Tsutia's sincerity, and Frey hugged her out of excitement, which overwhelmed Tsutia until she fainted. Worried, Athena rushed off to buy a cold treat for her. As Koshi returned, he saw Athena being pressured by two strangers who were trying to force her to join them in the water. They held her hand, even though she turned them down. Koshi immediately intervened, pushing one of their hands away and telling them not to pressure someone who had already refused. The men mocked him and asked if he was her boyfriend, but Athena answered that he was like her younger brother, and Koshi said he was her dorm helper. He then took Athena's hand only long enough to lead her away to safety. When they were far enough, he apologized, but Athena told him it was fine because she saw him as family and knew his intentions weren't improper. They returned to the group, but Koshi couldn't shake the heavy feeling in his chest afterward. Later, while Athena was showering, Tsutia entered and apologized for how she had acted earlier. She admitted she had been frustrated with Athena for no real reason, believing Athena hadn't supported Koshi enough during hard times, even though Athena and the others actually had. Athena confessed she felt something similar. She wanted to protect Koshi, but Koshi always ended up worrying about her instead, and it was Minoru and Frey who supported him the most at school. Athena explained that the whole trip was her idea because she wanted to finally do something meaningful for Koshi. She could sense that she and Tsutia shared the same feelings of wanting to give back, and without hesitation, Koshi had agreed to come along. On the way back home, Tsutia felt reassured. She realized she had nothing to worry about. Athena truly saw Koshi only as a younger brother. When she turned around, she noticed Koshi had fallen behind, quietly watching the sun set over the ocean with a heavy look on his face. The following day, Koshi seemed unusually quiet. When Frey hugged him from behind while he was cooking, he jumped in surprise, and she pointed out that he was so distracted he hadn't noticed the pot boiling over. After breakfast, Athena offered to help with the dishes, but Koshi refused without even looking at her, which surprised everyone. Frey became worried about his mood and wondered how she could lift his spirits. Believing that creative activities might help him relax, Frey brought him to a cosplay studio. There, they dressed as characters from a popular game. Frey became the leader of a knightly order, and Koshi played a knight serving under her. In the story, their characters were opposing forces connected like family, yet divided because they followed different ideals. Frey stayed completely in character and used the roleplay to ask Koshi questions he had to answer honestly as part of the scene. During their staged battle, she asked him what had been troubling him. After hesitating, he finally explained everything that had happened at the beach. Someone he cared about had told him they felt safe around him, like family. Normally, he would have been glad to hear that, but lately he had been wrestling with new emotions he didn't understand. He feared acknowledging them might damage his relationships and the peaceful life he had built with everyone at the dorm. Koshi admitted he didn't want to lose the home and warmth he had finally found with them. Frey pointed out that the character he was portraying also struggled with honesty and encouraged Koshi to be true to himself. To help him understand, Frey opened up about her own past. She explained that she used to speak bluntly and often upset people without meaning to. When she first arrived at the dorm, she hid her true nature because she didn't want to cause conflict. But the others eventually learned who she really was, and instead of running away, she chose to face their reactions. She told Koshi that being honest, even if misunderstandings happen, is better than pretending forever, because facing the truth can lead to new kinds of bonds. After sharing their worries and hopes with each other, they changed out of their costumes and made their way back to the dorm, both feeling lighter than before. During the Women's University Festival, Koshi and Sudia decide to explore the event together. The festival is open to everyone, so families, children, and boys from outside the school also attend. As soon as they enter the campus, they run into Frey, who is part of the event staff and responsible for helping different departments with costumes. Since she knows the campus layout better than anyone, she offers to guide them around and show the most interesting areas. Their first destination ends up being an unofficial medical booth hidden behind the school building. It's not listed on the official festival map, so only a few visitors ever find it. The stand belongs to Minoru, who sells her own homemade remedies to earn a little extra money. The place looks a bit suspicious, much like Minoru's cluttered room, and it's questionable whether any of the items she makes are actually safe. Minoru proudly shows them her 2 special creations, even though both are banned by the school. Before they can ask questions, another festival staff member arrives, and Minoru quickly packs everything up. In her rush, she accidentally drops one of the bottles into Koshi's bag without noticing. Frey then leads the group to the Paranormal Research Club. The club claims they have discovered a strange creature wandering around campus. They haven't identified it yet, so they simply refer to it as the legend. Frey explains that Serene is part of the project, though the truth is that Serene herself is the mysterious figure the club has been observing without realizing it. Suddenly, another club member rushes in announcing that Serene was spotted near the food stalls. Worried the club might start treating her like a research subject, Frey, Koshi, and Sudia hurry toward the courtyard to find her. When they arrive, they see many students acting unusually chaotic, running around in a mischievous frenzy. Koshi notices a familiar-looking bottle on the ground and realizes that it must be something Minoru dropped earlier. A girl wearing glasses approaches Koshi, saying he looks familiar, and before he can respond, Frey throws a wig onto his head, the same wig he once used when disguising himself as a girl at school, leaving him confused about what she's planning. Strange fumes begin drifting across the courtyard, affecting several girls, causing even more erratic behavior. Sutia tries to step in when she sees things getting out of hand, but the crowd suddenly starts surrounding her instead. At the height of the chaos, Serene makes an entrance like Gojo. She draws upon her moon-based abilities and releases a domain expansion. The light clears the air and neutralizes the effects of whatever substance had spread. Everyone slowly returns to normal behavior, but the effort leaves Serene completely drained, and she collapses from exhaustion. Koshi rushed to Serene's side when she collapsed and helped her reach the campus infirmary. While he stayed with her, Frey and Sudia went out to buy food, hoping something warm would help her regain her energy temporarily. Inside the medical room, Serene calmly explained that regular food wouldn't fully restore her ability, and that she needed a particular method involving close contact with someone she had a special bond with. Koshi, remembering past situations involving Serene, grew embarrassed and unsure how to behave around her. Serene tried to reassure him by mentioning that she relied on several dorm members in similar ways, not just him. As she leaned forward to thank him for his concern, Koshi, already nervous, tipped backward in his chair just as Frey and Sudia returned. Serene's focus shifted immediately when she noticed the food they brought, comparing it to something bright and celestial. After the hectic situation, Frey realized they still had time before the festival ended and suggested visiting Athena, who was working part-time at a cafe. Athena had taken the job to get used to being around more people her age, especially other boys besides Koshi. She appeared wearing a maid uniform, which drew attention from everyone in the shop and made her blush. Koshi, Suteya, and Frey sat down as customers and watched Athena work. Koshi admired her dedication, and Suteya seemed captivated by the uniform. When their order arrived, Athena accidentally tripped and fell toward Koshi, but Suteya managed to save the food. Athena apologized with impressive professionalism, leaving Koshi unsure how to react. At another table, a group of male students asked Athena to show them around the festival. Though clearly nervous, she politely declined. Koshi was about to step in, but Frey stopped him, explaining that Athena was doing her best to gain confidence on her own, and the kindest thing he could do was let her handle it. Frey hinted that Athena might be trying so hard because of someone important to her, implying Koshi. Later, in the kitchen, one of Athena's co-workers teased her gently, asking whether she was putting in all this effort for Koshi. Embarrassed but unable to deny it, Athena admitted it quietly. When she worried about leaving the cafe short-staffed, Frey surprised everyone by volunteering Sudia to fill in. Sudia jumped at the chance and quickly took on the role with an energetic, slightly stern persona. With a short break available, Koshi and Athena headed out together to see another part of the festival, a cross-dressing contest. To their surprise, one of the judges was Kiria, who was incredibly popular among the students because of her cool and composed appearance. Even Athena seemed impressed. The venue was crowded, the air warm, and Koshi ended up taking out a cold drink to cool himself down. After finishing his drink, Koshi suddenly realizes something is wrong. The taste isn't like normal water. Reading the label, he discovers it's actually one of Minoru's creations, a mixture said to reveal the drinker's true nature. This confuses him, but he brushes it aside for the moment. Once the cross-dressing event ends, Kiria approaches Koshi and Athena, thanking them for coming to cheer her on. She mentions that she has an extra pass for a guided tour through the campus labyrinth and invites them along. Athena initially tries to decline because she still has classroom duties, but Koshi, sounding unusually excited and youthful, blurts out that he wants to go. Because of his enthusiasm, Athena accepts, and the three head off together. Whether due to the drink or not, Koshi begins acting more open and expressive, more like someone his actual age. Athena finds this side of him heartwarming and hopes he'll behave this way more often. The labyrinth itself is dark and strange, and both Kiria and Koshi are easily startled, often sticking close together as they find their way forward. Athena seems the calmest of the group, which gives the others reassurance. Even while behaving more childlike, Koshi still tries to look out for the girls like a protective younger brother. At one point, Kiria holds his hand and tells him she feels safe walking with him and that Athena likely feels the same. Eventually, the group reaches a pitch-black area where they lose their footing and stumble. When the lights flick back on, they discover they've fallen into a clumsy pile. Once they recover, they leave the labyrinth and return to the cafe. Koshi hands Minoru the empty bottle of what he thought was a powerful mixture and explains he drank it by mistake. Minoru asks how he felt after consuming it. Koshi admits he behaved strangely and said embarrassing things all day. Smiling, Minoru reveals that the bottle didn't contain medicine at all. It was simply purified water. She intentionally swapped the labels to see how he would react, meaning everything he said or did came purely from his own feelings. Back at the cafe, the atmosphere grows livelier now that Sutia has taken over Athena's shift. Her customer service skills surprisingly impress the guests. Suddenly, Serene rushes in, chased by the campus paranormal research group, while the disciplinary committee enters at the same moment looking for Minoru. To make matters worse, students affected by Minoru's earlier mishaps begin chasing Kiria, turning the scene into total chaos. Some days later, at the dorm, Kiria receives a call from home. Her family runs a children's martial arts school and hosts a yearly winter celebration. This year, however, her relatives are tied up and can't return, so Kiria has to run the event alone. She feels pressured because the responsibility is heavy, but she also sees it as her duty. When Athena hears the situation, she volunteers to help, eager to apply what she's learned in her education and economics courses. Koshi also happens to be free and offers to assist. Before heading out to buy supplies, Koshi is assigned bathroom cleaning duty. When he opens the bathroom door, he accidentally walks in on Athena just as she's leaving. Startled, he quickly closes his eyes and apologizes for not checking first. Athena also apologizes for using the bathroom at that moment. In her rush to leave, she slips and falls, hitting her head lightly and knocking herself out. Because of this, she doesn't have the energy to accompany Kiria and Koshi on the shopping trip. Seeing the two heading out together, Minoru teasingly comments that they look like they're going on a date. Embarrassed, Kiria punches the door and storms outside. Koshi follows after her, and soon they make their way to the supermarket. Kiria secretly enjoys having the entire day to herself with Koshi, even if she tries not to show it too much. The two wander through various stores and sightseeing spots, chatting casually as they go. After some time on their feet, they decide to rest at a small cafe. Kiria grows a little self-conscious, feeling as if they're on an unofficial date, though anyone watching them would probably assume they were simply close siblings. Once their break ends, they continue gathering everything needed for the upcoming event. Normally, around Christmas, her father dresses as Santa for the children at their family dojo. But since Kiria is filling in this year, she doesn't want to wear the usual men's costume. Koshi suggests asking Frey to tailor a special Santa outfit designed specifically for her. Kiria also mentions that Athena would look adorable in matching clothes cuter than herself. She insists, since she thinks her own appearance leans more androgynous, even if she gets plenty of attention for being cool at school. Koshi tells her she should try wearing cute clothes more often, and surprisingly, Kiria doesn't reject the idea. When they return to the dorm, they ask Frey to create the outfits. Frey grabs her measuring tape and starts taking Kiria's measurements. Knowing Santa needs a reindeer, Koshi tries to slip away, but Frey catches him before he can escape. While Kiria stands there, getting measured, Koshi keeps his eyes tightly shut out of embarrassment, and eventually steps outside to avoid making things more awkward. Their plan is to head to Kiria's hometown afterward, But when Koshi returns to the dorm to grab his things, he accidentally opens the bathroom door again, only to find Atena bathing, forcing her to stay behind once more. At that very moment, Serene appears, rambling excitedly about lunar energy and ways to repair the door Kiria broke earlier. With everything settled, Koshi, Kiria, and Serene board a train and begin the long journey to her hometown. Finally they arrived. When they stepped into Kiria's family dojo, a bunch of little kids immediately rushed over, excited to meet the visitors. Kiria introduced Koshi and Serene, and the children happily pulled both of them into the changing area so they could join the beginner practice session. Before long, Koshi and Serene were lined up with the younger students, following instructions and learning basic judo movements. Once the kids wrapped up their lesson, Kiria invited Koshi to train with her for a bit. During one of the moves, their faces wound up unexpectedly close, and Kiria accidentally tossed him a little too strongly, leaving both of them embarrassed but laughing it off afterward. Later in the day, everyone began preparing the dojo for the Christmas event. Decorations were hung up, and the students were handed small badges to praise their good effort. While helping set things up, Koshi noticed one girl sitting by herself with a worried expression. He approached her gently, and she shyly admitted that she felt too weak compared to the other kids and didn't think she deserved a Christmas present. Koshi reassured her that the badges were meant to celebrate effort, not perfection. As long as she kept trying her best and showed up to practice, she deserved to enjoy the celebration like everyone else. A little later, two cheerful Santa-style helpers entered the room, brightening the atmosphere instantly. Kiria's little brother was shocked to recognize his sister in costume. He only realized it once she spoke in her usual strict tone. Once the gifts were handed out, the final activity began. A playful reindeer ride, where children take turns riding on someone's back just for fun. But I think guys, in that case, the Santa must give the ride. Koshi stepped in to help with the game and let Serene try the ride first, since she seemed eager to participate. When the festivities finally simmered down, Koshi walked outside to enjoy the peaceful night breeze and admire the moon. After a moment, Kiria quietly joined him and sat nearby. The two shared a shy, quiet moment, talking softly about the day and feeling a calm closeness settle in. Just as the atmosphere began to feel warm, Serene suddenly appeared and ruined the moment. As winter settles in, the temperature drops sharply, so Minaru and Frey set up a heater in the dorm's living room. It's Koshi's first time using this type of heater, and he becomes fascinated by how warm and cozy it feels. Tsudia sits close to him to enjoy the warmth, and Atena, watching from nearby, can't help showing a hint of jealousy. Everyone gathers around the heated table, and before long, they begin lightly tapping one another's feet under the blanket without knowing whose foot belongs to whom. Because the space beneath the tablecloth is hidden, the playful chaos quickly grows into laughs and confusion, making the room feel lively and warm. Koshi notices how comfortable and peaceful the moment is. It reminds him of the kind of simple family time he always wished for, something his old home life never gave him due to the fire that destroyed it. Atena wants to comfort him, but Minaru gently reaches out first, offering support in her own caring way. At Kiria's house, Koshi often studies with her younger siblings, and they usually end up nodding off together in front of the heater after long sessions of homework. Koshi realizes he has never experienced anything like this before doing schoolwork in such a close, supportive environment. Atena is just about to suggest they study together sometime, but Minaru jumps in and recommends inviting Tsutia first. The next day, Koshi goes to ask Tsutia to study at the dorm. She refuses at first because of her health, but after he insists several times, she finally agrees only if he promises to buy her ice cream later. When they arrive at the dorm, Koshi is surprised to find the living room empty. Normally, Serene is always bundled under the heated table, but today, no one is there. Koshi and Tsutia take advantage of the quiet and sit down to work on their school assignment. Before long, Koshi grows sleepy, and Tsutia ends up dozing off completely. Eventually, Koshi gives into the warm air and falls asleep beside her. Tsutia wakes up feeling overheated and gets ready to lecture him until she notices he's actually sound asleep and hasn't even started his homework. With a sigh, she finishes his worksheet for him and turns the heater off. Once the heater shuts down, the room cools quickly. Koshi, still half asleep, shivers and curls deeper under the table for warmth, accidentally stretching his legs towards Tsutia without realizing it. The sudden movement startles her, and she shifts away, only for Atena to walk in and misinterpret the scene entirely. Flustered and embarrassed, Tsutia panics and ends up knocking the heater over. A big cosplay event is coming up, and Frey needs to attend. Before leaving, she asks Koshi to tidy the dorm, especially her room. She claims it isn't messy, but once he walks in, he's met with complete chaos. Seeing his struggle, Atena helps him clean. While working, a loud sound comes from Serene's room. Atena rushes over and finds Serene hanging from the windowsill as strange liquids spill inside. Serene slips, but Koshi catches her in time, keeping her safe. With Frey busy, Kiria at an end-of-year gathering, and Minaru focused on her lab. Koshi is relieved when Tsuteya arrives to help. Atena feels a little jealous, noticing Koshi praises Tsuteya more warmly than her. The three of them continue cleaning, eventually returning to Serene's room. Serene resists the idea at first, saying she's been in the dorm longer than anyone, and the place only became lively after everyone else joined. They check Minaru's room next and discover she has upgraded it into a full science lab. Koshi is impressed, but Minaru says they'll get a full tour another time. Back in Serene's room, Atena offers snacks to convince Serene to let them organize her belongings. They realize many items she keeps are valuable or meaningful, not trash. During sorting, Minaru accidentally gets tipsy from a strong bottle of liquor she discovers. Even Atena becomes dizzy just from the smell. When Koshi steps out to find more supplies, he finds Minaru, Serene, and Atena all dozing off from the fumes. Atena clings to him and, in her half-awake state, admits she doesn't understand why he always focuses on Tsuteya. Before saying more, she falls asleep. Tsuteya walks in, misreads the situation, and immediately scolds Koshi. As New Year approaches, Koshi asks about everyone's plans. Minaru plans to stay at the dorm for research. Kiria has no intention of leaving again so soon. Serene decides to remain, and Atena shares similar plans. Hearing this, Koshi realizes how grateful he is to spend the holiday with people who feel like family after losing his home. Minaru suggests hosting a New Year party, but she needs ingredients. Atena is busy finishing a handmade gift, so Kiria goes with Koshi to shop. During the trip, Koshi suddenly collapses from exhaustion. Atena rushes in after hearing the news, and Frey hurries back as well, though Atena stops her from overwhelming him. When they check his temperature, they find he has a high fever and quickly begin planning how to help him recover. When everyone learns that Koshi is sick, Frey instantly puts on a nurse outfit, while Kiria makes fresh apple juice for him. Serene, amused by the chaos, brings an assortment of fruit, even attempting to cut a durian before being stopped. Soon after, Tsuteya hurries in to check on him. She leans forward to compare their temperatures, but the moment their foreheads touch, she becomes flustered and collapses onto him. Minaru and Atena gently move Tsuteya to another room to rest. As they leave, Frey somehow ends up sitting on Koshi's bed. Hearing suspicious sounds, Atena returns and finds Frey posing dramatically over him. She steps in to protect Koshi, but slips and falls onto him herself. The impact causes her clothes to shift awkwardly, and she faints from embarrassment. To help Koshi rest, Frey and Kiria carry Atena out of the room. Once Koshi wakes up, everyone agrees to split the chores. Still weak but able to walk, he steps outside and runs into Kiria, who is doing laundry. She offers to wash his clothes, but after recalling the strange treatments he received from Frey and Serene, she decides not to inspect them too closely. Since Koshi ran out earlier without proper clothing, Kiria grabs something for him to wear, though the outfit ends up being nothing more than shorts and a small shirt that barely fits. Atena wants to cook something soothing for him, but the fridge is empty. Serene, thinking eggs looked like tiny moons, had smashed and eaten them all out of curiosity. Minaru suggests Atena try her newest experimental seasoning. Atena refuses at first, but during their struggle, the seasoning accidentally spills into the food, triggering a small explosion that leaves their clothes stained, strange colors. Koshi's fever worsens after witnessing the incident. Because it's a holiday, all nearby clinics are closed, so the dormmates decide to take turns watching over him. Atena insists on being the one to stay by his bedside. She cares for him through the night, cooling his forehead and making sure he's comfortable, yet his fever still refuses to drop. While half asleep, Koshi softly calls Atena's name. She holds his hand as he drifts in and out of consciousness, recalling every moment they've shared from the day they first met to everything they've experienced together. With her beside him, he finally settles down and falls asleep. The next morning, Koshi wakes to find Atena resting on his chest, realizing she must have stayed beside him the entire night to watch over him. Once his fever finally fades, he returns to his chores, and Atena quietly hands him a handmade gift, a cozy pair of gloves she created just for him. Remembering that New Year's Eve is happening later that night, Koshi decides to go shopping for the celebration and invites Atena to join him. She happily accepts, but the others immediately decide to come along as well. Right then, Tsuteya arrives, and together, the whole group heads out to have some fun. Tell me in the comments guys, what's your favorite stepsister? That's it for today's video guys. Watch the following video and I will catch you in the next one.